Doma Sports Talk Worldwide with some news from the world of boxing. So y'all know what time it is. You ain't in a rush to get concussed. Now, something that we had years back, and we thought we've evolved, right? We thought we evolved and we got away from it. But it's just a different thing going on, and I'm just going to talk about it. I'm going to try to do it shortly because I got a few things I want to do today. But boxing, in my opinion, still has a Negro League, right? I call it BTBG, beat the black guy. I know, we probably shouldn't elaborate on things like that. We have a little, everything's a little bit more sensitive, height and sensitivity right now than it should be. We have things that are going on that are just ludicrous, right? And, they have to be addressed. But we have the guy on top is making sure that we stay um, separated and stay, at war with each other, basically, which is a damn shame because we're better than this as a species. But it is what it is. And when you're talking about boxing, for example, you got guys on here that'll come on here, and I'm not asking you to like and subscribe and all that stuff because it gets on my damn nerves. So I know it probably will get on yours. And but I'm up here basically wasting my time. It probably would be when you're not earning from it, but I'm not wasting my time because most of the time I'm talking about things that I think are very important, right? But I ain't gonna be on here a whole lot of times and answering back and forth and doing all those other things and editing and all that stuff because then you're gonna want to be compensated. So I come on here, spit what I gotta say, and then I roll. Bottom line. And boxing has a Negro League, in my opinion, and those are the ones that I constantly are talking about. And if you think, well, no, it doesn't. But a Negro League is basically back in the day, like in baseball, for example, you had the major leagues, and then you had another league where you knew, but it was only black people, but you knew damn well they were good enough to play in the other league. Some of them better, right? Most of them would have been stars in the other league, but they weren't allowed, right? If that's the definition of Negro League, then I'm telling you the fighters that I always talk about, right? Louis the Real King Kong Ortiz, right? Demetrius Andrade, Charlo, the brothers basically, but definitely Jamal Charlo, Rigondeaux, Guillermo Rigondeaux, Taz, Devin Haney. They're in the Negro Leagues. They are not giving the opportunity to do what they should be, to be considered extremely great, right? And it keeps happening. They refuse to give them a chance. Another thing, before I get into every fighter and tell you why and what some of the things that has happened to them, you have the WBSS tournament. It's a tournament to find out who the best is in every division. The best fighters get into it. Did you guys see 2 years ago that cruiserweight when Alexander Usyk won it? Every cruiserweight who was somebody was in that. If it was Morat Gassiev, right? The best at the time, Maurice Bridas, uh, Dorticus, right? Marco Hook, Mike Perez at the time when he was awesome, and then a couple of Vocek and another guy. It was like all eight of them were extremely awesome, and they had that tournament, and Alexander Usyk came out on top. But it was an awesome tournament. Well, the WBS never gets any support because if you did, you would have to put all the people in every weight division, the top eight, and we'll find out who the best. And I told you they're not going to get any sponsors. People are not interested because that's when the BS stops. And we won't have to anoint people and don't give other people a shot, right? So let me just like, for example, Louis the Real King Kong Ortiz. Why? Well, Louis the Real King Kong Ortiz is a top five heavyweight and everyone knows it. He's gotten one shot, right? And that was from Deontay Wilder. Deontay Wilder as a voluntary. Props to Deontay Wilder. All hail to Deontay Wilder. Ain't nobody else gonna fight Ortiz when they're mandated to fight Ortiz. Ask Dillian White that, but I'm gonna probably talk about that in another video. Dillian White was mandated to fight him and didn't do it. Right? No one ever calls Ortiz names out. Tyson Fury, hey man, that's too much risk and no reward. No one. And Deontay Wilder did that even as a voluntary. And then he did it again because Louis the Real King Kong Ortiz has a sick daughter, and Wilder was trying to help him, right, to make sure he paid for his daughter, which is by props to Wilder because he did the same thing to Tyson Fury when Tyson Fury was in depression and fat. He offered him to get up and gave him 50%. For those who just don't like Deontay Wilder, those two guys would thank Deontay Wilder forever. Now, Tyson Fury probably won't thank him in public anymore because there's some things going on there. But Tyson Fury has always thanked Deontay Wilder, and so has Louis the Real King Kong Ortiz, and both of those guys are very dangerous. But Ortiz will get a no shot from anyone else. Other 40-year-old guy just got a shot the other day. But that's in another video. So no one will fight Ortiz the whole time. He's old as hell. and everybody's avoiding him, right? But through boxing, they're allowed to. Now, one of my other favorites, Demetrius Andrade, Boo Boo Andrade, middleweight. The whole time, 154, could not get fights in that division. He was asking for Canelo the whole time, even though he was the champion, giving to Canelo opportunities. He didn't have to fight him. Now, 5 years later, he's in the same division as Canelo again. Canelo doesn't have to fight him. Canelo talk about 168, he'll go up there too. So 154, 160, 168, trying to get Canelo. They won't never let him fight him. But they call Canelo better than this guy, right? Negro Leagues. He doesn't get a shot to get Canelo because if he did, he would become undisputed. We don't want that. Jamal Charlo, a twin brother. He has a twin brother, and they're both champions. He was champion at 154, won at Canelo, couldn't get him. 160, did everything in the WBC, fight interims and mandatories. And once he got to Canelo, they came up with some new belt, so Canelo doesn't have to fight him. Basically, that's the short version, but you've heard it a million times. So Negro Leagues. I don't get the opportunity to beat this guy that you guys have anointed. We won't let him touch this guy, right? Devin Haney. Coming up young, you can say, well, he's young, we didn't give him an opportunity. But once he became mandatory for Lomachenko decided to call the WBC and ask them, can I have that same belt that Canelo had so I don't have to fight this guy? This is literally the truth. So don't come here talking about, and this is literally Lomachenko and Canelo requested belts, some new something, so we don't have to fight Haney and Charlo respectively. It's ridiculous in the game, right? But it's happened. So Devin Haney, if Lomachenko would fight him, he would have beat him, and now this fight that he's going to have with Teofimo Lopez would have been for undisputed. We didn't get the opportunity to do that. Excuse me. Speaking of undisputed, back up to Andrade and Canelo. Last year on September, they would have had an undisputed fight between the two. Canelo or his fans or a lot of other people in the media never mentioned that undisputed fight where we could have one champion in middleweight. It's another thing that happened to Andrade. So those are Negro leagues. Guillermo Rigondeaux, baddest dude down in the lower divisions. If you're talking 100, 15, 118, 122, 126, basically no one trying to fight him. Ever. Still to today. We got a guy we call him the monster and everything, Inui. He could get an undisputed fight with Rigondeaux. Won't do it. Right? Before that, Donaire. Inui is famous because he won the the WBWS tournament by beating Donaire in the final in a hard barn burner fight, with Inui's eye socket was broke. Right? So all of these things we're talking about with Inui, but Rigondeaux already had beat Nonito Donaire when Nonito Donaire was number 3 pound for pound about 5 or 6 years ago. I think 2013. Beat him bad. And what they do for him, they blackballed him, threw him in the Negro leagues, right? And no one never had to fight him, and we just won't call him good. Then he has to have a fight with a Lomachenko, and they make him go up 2.5 weight divisions, and instead of meeting him halfway at 126, which would still been big, but at least would have been some kind of competitiveness there. And that's all the only chance he would get. No one even asked. I remember at the time, I was like, is anybody going to ask Lomachenko to come down? He just left 126. Can he come down and meet this guy? No. No one felt for Rigondeaux. Negro leagues, right? There's only a few people that talk about them. It shouldn't be like that, but if people don't think it's the truth, hey, look at your Republican senators right now. Do you think any of those guys are McCarthy, or Lindsey Graham, Nunez, Cruz, any of those guys would stand up for this guy here, these guys that I'm talking about? Do you think they would care? Hell no, right? Here we are with Deontay Wilder, who I didn't mention, but bottom line is a champion that's knocking out everybody, one after a row, and wasn't getting the opportunity to become undisputed. No one cared about it, and he never was a big star like he probably should have been. When you have a heavyweight champion with a backstory like that, just learned how to box, doing what he's doing. Negro leagues, it is what it is, and going for a foreigner instead of him. Negro leagues, it's the exact same thing, right? You're good enough, but you're not going to be allowed to be great. And all those fighters that I mentioned are extremely awesome fighters, but they won't be allowed to be great. Now we know they're great, and me personally, I ignore all the other stuff. Ain't nobody getting watched live. When I see all this ridiculousness going on. If I'm talking about Ring Magazine, Golden Boy, and that stuff. Since then, No respect here. WBC, it's over for them. Over. They'll never have any credibility with me or people who know me, or if I'm talking boxing to somebody, I will mention that some of the transgressions that they're doing and getting away with, which would leave me. It's like, oh, okay, well, I ain't got time to be. I'm not supporting that because I know what it is and I know what the motivations are. So that's what I'm saying. 2020, we still got the Negro Leagues in boxing. So let's do something about it. One would be boycott. Doma Sports Talk worldwide, and I'm up out of here, y'all.